access limits, surcharges is another priority. But in the longer term, I think streamlining the work of the IMFC, focusing on strategies and leaving the details to management, and obviously led by the managing director, I think that is key. Make sure that the IMFC, as the highest, almost the highest governing body, focuses on strategies and look at potential risks and give recommendations to management.
Very good. Let's go to this side of the room. Woman right in the front in the tan blazer, right here.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my question. Kemi Oshikoya from the Africa Bazaar magazine. My question is on Africa. What's your outlook for the sub-Saharan Africa, and what's your key advice to countries in the region to steer their economic in the right direction?
Managing Director, I'll ask you to take that question, please.
Thank you. With the global outlook turning more positive, we also see prospects for Africa improving. In sub-Saharan Africa, last year growth was 3.4%. For this year, we project 3.8%. For next year, 4%. Inflation, like in the rest of the world, is going down. It peaked at almost 10%. Now it is around 6% and continuing to slip down, to go downwards. It shows the maturity of central banks and the fact that investment in independence and professionalism are paying off. Fiscal consolidation, not easy, but on the basis of being carefully moderated over medium term and executed with attention to the vulnerable parts of the population, is starting to also bring results. The median debt ratio has stabilized at around 60%. And this is really welcome news, because after 10 years of going up, 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 we are finally seeing that stabilizing and going, in some countries, going down. Now, this is good, but not good enough, because countries in sub-Saharan Africa do face a funding squeeze. They do face high debt payments. Just one number to illustrate. The debt payments on average, debt service payments on average, 12% of revenues on average. They were, this is more than double, they were around 5% a decade ago. And what is heartbreaking is in some countries debt payments are up to 20% of revenues. What does it mean? That what could have gone for education, for health, for investment in infrastructure, in jobs, is being sucked away for debt service. And we know that a big part of the reason is because interest rates are still quite high. So what does that translate into for the authorities in sub-Saharan Africa? Well, first, we see that those that have worked to improve public finances, to clean the ground for investments, for private sector to come, they're doing better. When you have tax to revenue at 26%, like in Cote d'Ivoire, you can bear the debt service burden. When you have 12% tax to GDP, you cannot. So big part of our support for sub-Saharan Africa is in domestic resource mobilization, improving the efficiency, of public spending, and also helping countries to develop local capital markets. So savings of local savings can then gear growth prospects. Second, the inflation problem is not solved, so don't take your eyes off the ball. And third, Africa has so much to offer. Well, let me first say, when we talk about Africa, it's kind of misleading because there are so many Africas in Africa. But this is the continent with the most exciting opportunities for the future. Natural resources abundant. Very youthful population that is eager to work. So the more countries can do to make themselves more attractive, more trustworthy for investors, I'm sure we will see capital from other places flowing into Africa. And our determination is to work for that optimistic prospect, to see the rich opportunities in Africa captured for the benefit of the African people.
Okay, let's go to the center. I'll take the woman in the white right in the front row.
So far I see one conclusion for you: sit on the front row.
Thank you so much for the suggestion, and thank you so much for taking my question. My name is Rachel, journalist at 21st Century Business Herald, Guangdong, China. So in the context of transformative 20s, you mentioned a couple of times in your previous speech. So what are the top priority recommendations that IMF have for countries that are facing high debt burdens as well as high inflationary pressures? Thank you.
Managing Director, I'll ask you to take that one.
Thank you. Well, first thing first, if you want to have a strong dynamic economy, the foundation has to be strong. Make sure that the policies are robust, that tax policies are in place, fiscal policies are in place, starting from good taxation, preferably one that allows the wealthier part of the population to pay their dues, and then, of course, high quality of spending. That takes us to, and sound monetary policy in place, that takes us to proactively what countries can do. In the world of today and tomorrow, the quality of human capital would matter tremendously. You cannot transform your economy if the skills base is from the 20th century. And I think the issue here is not just to have schools, but to get people to learn how to learn over their lifetime. Agility in social support. If there is a need to shift from one place to another, there has to be that space and support to do it. I often talk about social safety ropes, not, or my colleagues say use the word ladder, because rope may be this. So let's say ladders, social safety ladders, that you help people to help themselves. What does it mean? Access to financing, access to credit, ability to support the functioning of the economy, and that takes me in the next critical part, accessible digital infrastructure. And this, in today's and tomorrow's economy, is going to be paramount. And then comes the green transition. It matters not only because if we don't deal with the climate risks, we are cooked, but it matters because it offers tremendous opportunities for new sources of growth. And the last piece of this transformative puzzle is fairness in society. One thing that we know from analysis is that high inequality holds growth down. When you have lower inequality in society, then you have better chances for the economy to function in the higher end. And of course, there are things like natural resources. Saudi Arabia has plenty. But if you don't have human capital, conditions for investment, and the prerequisites for dynamism for the new economy, the digital, the green economy, then it is hard to transform. I want to say something. I'm sorry, Julie, she's going to give me a hard time afterwards because I'm dragging my answer here. But I want to say the following. I lived through a major structural transformation when the former Eastern Bloc moved from century planned to market economies. Very impressive because it unleashed the potential of entrepreneurship and productivity to grow. Today, my country is 8 times better off than it was in 1990, 8 times increase of income per capita. But there were things that we didn't do right. Inequality in my country increased. It is now the most unequal country in the European Union. And desperation pushed many of the Bulgarian people to leave the country. Our population shrunk. Bulgaria is now #1 in shrinking in the whole world. So lessons from our experience, transformation that lifts up incomes but diminishes your potential to grow, erodes your human capital, erodes the trust in society, cannot be fully successful. So thank you for your patience.
Certainly. We have time for one more question. I'm going to go to the back. So gentleman with the burgundy tie, 5th or 6th row.
Thank you. Enda Curran from Bloomberg News. Given the news on Iran and Israel last night, how will this impact energy markets and how will these geopolitical shocks impact world trade going forward? Thank you.
Thank you.
Minister.
Okay. I will be very brief. First of all, obviously it is very unfortunate to see geopolitical tensions rising, and the members recognize, and you will see it from the statement that was issued earlier, recognize that geopolitical tensions have negative consequences on the world economy, no doubt. We also heard today from the managing director of the World Trade Organizations that while generally there is a negative impact from fragmentation resulting from geopolitics, there are also some beneficiaries, and a lot of emerging markets are actually benefiting, which is good, from the diversification of the supply chain. However, we need to be careful, and I think there is a general agreement among members that we can only resolve global issues through cooperation and through a fora like the IMFC and the IMF that will provide the platform for a proper, constructive discussion to deal with these challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This will bring to conclusion this press conference. Thank you so very much for joining us. As usual, the transcript will be made available later today on imf.org. And please reach out to my team at Media Relations with any additional questions that you have. And we wish you all a wonderful weekend. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.